Welcome to the Ghosts of Dreamforce, past, present, and future. Presented by Cloud Adoption Solutions, a woman-owned Salesforce partner.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for making it out here today. My name is Andrew Duncan. I am the Senior Partner Account Manager at Cloud Adoption Solutions. We are absolutely thrilled to be throwing on Ghosts of Dreamforce today. Now, as everybody knows, Dreamforce is the biggest event of the year. Everybody in the Salesforce world knows it. Super exciting. Everyone travels across the country and goes out to San Francisco to see all the celebrities, the music, and of course, everything there is to know about Salesforce. Now, of course, this year is quite different. A global pandemic came in and Salesforce made the decision to move us to a virtual Dreamforce. I know lots of frowning faces out in the audience right now, but we can take this opportunity to get together, to band as a community, as an Ohana, and make this a really, really special year. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce the panel and we'll get moving. So first up, we have Toni V. Martin, accomplished Salesforce BA and founder of the Salesforce Business Analyst Virtual Summit. She lives in Atlanta, but she does love Detroit, Michigan.
Just not at this time of year, though.
Not this time of year. All right. And then we also have Miranda Ragland, the founder and CEO at M7 Unlimited, known for her amazing coding, her skills, and her passion about good coffee. And of course, we highlight good coffee, not coffee, but good coffee. All right. And then Janet Elliott, the technical program manager, the group leader of Sacramento Women in Salesforce, and the co-founder of the Sacramento Salesforce Saturdays, lauded for her incredible handwriting, which not many of us share with her, I'm sure. And we also have Eric Dreshfield, the partner marketing manager at Active Campaign, Salesforce MVP Hall of Famer, founder of the Midwest Dreamin', and the Kevin Bacon of the Salesforce community. He loves bacon almost as much as he loves Salesforce, probably not more. All right, so everybody, we're really excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. I will quickly announce that we have 4 swag bag giveaways ready to be randomly picked from Twitter. So if you log on to your Twitter during this webinar and you use hashtag DFGhosts, you'll be able to be randomly entered into our contest, and we will pick 4 winners at the end. No favorites, they are random, so sorry if you don't get one, but we're gonna make sure it's nice and fair. And please take any questions that you have and put them in the chat. We will get to all the questions at the end. We'll make sure everybody's questions are answered. And if you have something, like I promised, we'll address it towards the end. So thank you guys so much. We are really excited to have all these brilliant Salesforce minds all here with all these participants. So I'll go ahead and kick it over to Shannon Gregg and we'll go from there.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here. And I see everybody's got props already. I came with props too. We're ready to give you the secrets of Dreamforce, right? Like, we're all missing it so much. Some people are here have never actually been to a Dreamforce. So I asked these 4 amazing, lovely people to come on here and tell you some of their secrets. When we did the tech test, there were so many giggles that I was like, this is going to be off the chain. So I hope you guys are all ready for something. Jackie, this t-shirt is from Dreamforce 2016. So we all came with some of our artifacts today. So super excited about this. The first question that I have, and this one I'm going to kick to everybody. I'm going to start with you first, Eric, because the people want to know, how did you feel when you were arriving at your first Dreamforce?
First Dreamforce, that would have been all the way back in 2011,
Ooh.
My first Dreamforce, and I haven't missed one since because I'm considering the virtual thing this year part of Dreamforce. So I've been to Dreamforce 2020, which then makes 10 events for Dreamforce for me. Pretty cool. How did I feel upon arriving at my first one? There's a few words that come to mind. Excited. Overwhelmed, scared, nervous, anxious, excited. Oh, I used that one once already. Maybe I was really excited. I'll just say it one more time because it fit. Excited, looking forward to learning a ton, meeting a lot of people. My first Dreamforce, I was really focused on sessions, and I kind of went through the thing with the blinders on and a little bit, and probably signed up for way too many sessions and not enough networking. But I survived, obviously. But I think that those 7 or 8 or 12 or 15 words probably sums up how I felt about the first year.
Eric loves adjectives as much as he loves bacon. So if anybody needs any, you know where to go. Miranda, I'm going to roll it over to you. After I tell you, Lena has been to 16 Dreamforces. So we are going to ask you a few questions at the end, girl. Miranda, how did you feel when you arrived at your first Dreamforce?
This is kind of a complicated one for me. People come from all different walks of life. My first Dreamforce came at a very difficult time in my life. And I'm surprised I've never actually talked about this in public before. But I had actually just been through a really, really just heart-crushing breakup. And because of that, my ex had actually thrown me out of our home, and I wasn't getting along with my parents at that time. So I was literally living in a hotel on credit cards, hoping I wasn't going to run out of money. You know, like I'm in the most privileged way, I was homeless. You know, I still had enough money to have a hotel room. It wasn't very good, but my very first impression of Dreamforce was checking in at the Marriott Marquis, which was 1,000 times better than where I was staying. And I was just so happy to be in such a swank hotel that like that experience alone made it the absolute time of my life. And I went from starting with that emotion and carrying the hurt with me into going to sessions, you know, for the first time, learning from other people in the community, meeting and talking to other developers, you know, because at this point in my career, you know, the company that I was working with, like I was considered a secret weapon, you know, all this stuff to like build up my ego and everything. And I was being prevented from networking because they didn't want me to go anywhere else. You know, like I've since, you know, like kind of figured that one out. But, you know, like I'm meeting all of these people in the community for the first time. And it was just so unbelievably eye-opening and quite literally the time of my life. By the end of the event, all of the pain and everything, none of that mattered. And literally less than a week later, I was in a home of my own, you know? So like, it was just fantastic transitional point in my life. And like, it set the stage for this amazing, amazing event.
Okay, Miranda, I have goosebumps all over my arms. I was not prepared for that. I see Kathy giving you a heart, Jason's giving you a heart. Like there's hearts all around here. That's such an amazing testament. And thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that. And I think the one thing I would tell you is you still are a weapon. You're just not a secret anymore, girl.
I'm sure glad you started with me. I'm sure glad you started with me because I don't want to have to follow that one up.
You know, I wasn't sure I was going to share that one.
It's such an amazing and powerful testament to how this whole movement is so much deeper than software, right? It's not just an event where people get together, and it's not just something that we all use. I mean, it really does have the power to change lives. And I think we're going to probably keep hearing that repeat itself throughout the next hour together. So, wow, Miranda, that's amazing. Thank you. You know, I think that is such an incredible story, and we can't thank you enough for sharing it. My goodness gracious. Toni, I want to call on you next because I know that you've had quite a few interesting experiences at Dreamforce. So how did it feel when you went to your first one?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not a huge prop person, but I do have a random cloudy here, just so you all know, like I do have a prop or two. So my first Dreamforce experience, the story that I like to tell, and similar to Miranda's, it's kind of like a pre-Dreamforce, pre your first Dreamforce, how your life was, and then the post. And so for me, I had met Mary Scotton some months before, and she told me that, you know, you need to talk to Aori Selassie, who's an engineer at Salesforce. And so I randomly reached out to Aori on LinkedIn, and she was gracious enough to talk to me about this random career I had heard of, and I was trying to figure out my next steps. And she said, well, if you're serious, then you need to be at Dreamforce. And I was working a really low paying job, and I was coming from marketing. So I wasn't even in the tech field. I had Salesforce experience before, but I was rusty. So I was like not in the Ohana at that point. And she said, you need to be a Dreamforce. And I said, I'll be there. And I told her, I said, you know, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'll be there. And I remember telling my father, I said, you know, I'm going to end up going there, and we're going to laugh at how it all came together. And sure enough, Mary Scotton reached out to me randomly, and she said, we have this opportunity. We have a campfire. I think that was the first year that they had launched the campfires, and there were speaking opportunities that came with those. So I was able to get my registration through that. And I went out to dinner for my birthday with a friend, and I told her, you know, I'm trying to get to San Francisco for this big conference. And she said, I have 1 million Delta points, so I'll get your ticket with my points. So I got the ticket with her Delta points, and I ended up finding the Mosser Hotel, which is a block from Moscone. And at that time, it was really cheap. It's not anymore, but it was really cheap. And they didn't even have a block anymore of rooms, like one room for the whole week. So I had to like book 2 nights and then 3 nights, like a night. I had to piece it together. But the cool thing was that I didn't have to pay until I got there, right? And so I just like pieced this trip together and was able to get to Dreamforce like for little of nothing. And, you know, I just tell that story because it was very much like I had this intention and everything in the universe lined up for me to get there. And so that's actually why I started my virtual summit, because I'm like, everybody cannot get to these events. But if you do happen to get to them, you know, like we all have said, you have a story and there's this connection, and it's just kind of pre your first Dreamforce and after. So.
Oh, Toni, that's amazing. That's such a good story. And thank you too for sharing. And I think what it tells us all is that everyone started somewhere. Everyone started somewhere. And, you know, I think you guys are household names, but you all had a place where you said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm focused and this is where I'm going to go. And you made it happen. And there are people I see in the audience that I know for sure have paid their own way to Dreamforce. I know there are people whose employers said, no, you can't take that time. And so they took PTO and went. And I think everybody would say, wow, it was worth it, because look what's happening now. That is incredible. Janet, it's time for you, lady. How did you feel when you went to your first Dreamforce?
So I'm the newbie here. I've only been to 2. So I feel like, you know, I'm the baby of the group here. But I had been in the ecosystem for about 8 years already, but I wasn't really involved in the community. I was just doing my job and not really being involved in the community. So I had a chance to go, and everyone I worked with who had been there before warned me. But I show up, and it's just that whole, you see everybody walking around and you're starting to get the vibe. And all of a sudden I'm like, everybody's wearing these sweatshirts. Like there's all of these people like me. That was I just felt the Ohana spirit immediately, and the excitement. And of course, if you know me, I'm kind of a swagaholic. So, you know, I get to pick up my backpack, I'm ready to go. I get my badges. And then I realize there's quests for like plushies and t-shirts, and I'm all about the swag. So of course, you know, I was signing up for sessions and going to some of the awesome concerts and that type of thing. But for me, it was just that realization of, hey, there's all these other people out there like me, and getting to know the people.
That's awesome, Janet. And I think what you're saying is exactly right. You know, you somehow simultaneously feel the crush of 170,000 people on the sidewalks of San Francisco, running between Moscone North and West and the Hilton and the Marriott and the movie theaters. And you're like, I don't even know right from left anymore. And it's really hard to see because everyone's kind of concentrated in front of you, and it's just backpack after backpack after backpack, right? But there's also this sort of underlying thing where there are so many individuals who share something that you share, whether that's, you know, a passion for nonprofits, or it's a passion for pricing or users or user interface, or, you know, just making things better for people. And it's I think that keeps you coming back, unless you like being crushed on the sidewalks of San Francisco. Janet, you talked about the bands. You wrote the bands, and so I think now's a good time for me to ask you, did you ever see a band at a Dreamfest or at a partner party that you were like, oh my gosh, that band, that's
So
the band?
for me, with my musical taste, I missed out on some of the years of the things like Foo Fighters, things like that. So did not go to either of the Dreamfest. I'm not a huge Metallica fan, sorry. But the first year I went, I heard and I saw pictures on Twitter and stuff about the Macklemore concert. And I thought, I never heard of that. How do people find out about all these events? I had no idea all these events people were going to. And I'm like, how do you find out about these? So the second year I went, of course, I was much more informed. And of course I was on Twitter. That was the key. Because a lot of these things are just word of mouth or running into somebody. So that was definitely a tip that I learned. So because of Twitter, I found out that if I went to this particular restaurant, I would get a wristband, and then there was like a secret location to pick up a bus to go to the concert. So I did get to go to Macklemore the second year, and I just went by myself. I didn't have anybody to go with, and that was another great tip of, I just did a lot of things by myself, and that was the greatest way to meet people, because I met people out while I was there and just had the greatest time at that concert because it was small and it was just a lot of energy and was really, really fun. So that was my fun musical time at Salesforce.
I could see you now popping some tags. Front row at Macklemore. Toni, how about you? Did you see a band that you were like, yes, the band?
Not a band, but an icon. So it was the Metallica headline year, 2018. And I was at Dreamfest, and not a huge Metallica fan, but there was rumors that Janet Jackson was supposed to be there. And somebody, I don't know who, randomly was like, she's here, you all need to make your way. And we made our way, and I got to see Janet. And what was crazy is that she performed like she was at Madison Square Garden. And I know that they paid her a pretty penny, but full out amazing. And it was such a treat because it was unexpected. The same with Stevie Wonder. I was there and Stevie was the guest, and it was like rumors and they were teasing, and I was like, I think Stevie's gonna be here, and he was. And so those are a couple of mine that I was just like
This is one of the, I think, things that we all really love is all of the little rumors. And Janet, you had it right. Twitter is the place to be. You have to be on Twitter because people will be like, this is who's coming next, right? And when you're walking around a traditional trade show exhibit and you see Bono also walking around the trade show exhibit, you're like, what is this life? Janet Jackson, that is epic. That is so, so good. Miranda, how about you?
Oh, I've seen quite a few musical acts. I've been going since 2010, and 2010 started off right there. Stevie Wonder, will.i.am, just amazing night. So many epic bands, but my hands down absolute favorite came on one of the most miserable nights in the world. It's cold, it's pouring rain, we're all packed into AT&T, at least those of us who show up. Thank God they were serving hot chocolate and coffee. But yeah, pouring rain, just miserable conditions. Blondie goes out, she plays her set, things are good. Green Day comes out, they start playing, they're out there rocking, and then all of a sudden everything dies. The entire sound system blows out, just gone. And what does Billy Joel do? He goes backstage, grabs an acoustic guitar. Everyone huddles up in the pouring rain. Everyone huddles up near the stage. You know, we're all out there. A handful of people have umbrellas, but most of us are just like pushing together. We're bouncing around. We're just having the time of our life while Green Day is up there giving an acoustic concert in the rain on a cold night in San Francisco. Absolutely loved it.
That is a killer story. That is such a good story. I love that so much. I see some comments
to this day,
rolling in.
hands down favorite concert that I've ever been to.
Anybody else at that one with Miranda? I see people rolling in saying Bruno Mars, Alicia Keys. You know, I think there have been some really tremendous, amazing, really phenomenal bands. Eric, I know you've been to a lot of Dreamforces, so pressure's on, bud.
Yeah. So my very first Dreamforce, like I mentioned earlier, 2011. Most of the people I knew at that event were my coworkers, and most of them I hadn't really met in person because the corporate office was San Diego, and I was a remote employee working from home in Evansville, Indiana. I met my boss a few times prior to Dreamforce, but she is a huge Metallica fan. And she said, "Hey, Eric, I'm going to go to the Metallica concert tonight. You want to come with me?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" Well, you know, that year the concert was in Moscone. It wasn't outside. It was in where the keynotes are held today, or the most recent years. It was in like Hall D or something of Moscone, the big one in the basement. And the crowd was ridiculous. I mean, there were lines and people all over the place and trying to get into this thing. And, you know, they were going to shut it down at some point for fire concerns and too many people. And my boss said, "Come here, Eric, let's go this way." So, you know, those stairs that go down to what seems like nowhere off of Howard Street? Well, that's the emergency exit from the basement of Moscone. We went into the Metallica concert through those doors, and about 2 or 3 people behind us, the stairway was packed. About 2 or 3 people behind us, the security guards caught on to what was going on and stopped that. So I snuck in the wrong way, just barely made it, had a blast. But, you know, I'm not sure I'd call that my favorite Dreamforce concert, though. I think the one that I really enjoyed the most, and Miranda, I was at Blondie and Green Day as well, but I was up in the stadium where I wasn't getting wet. So I enjoyed Blondie, and when Green Day started playing, I was there, but when the sound went out, I left. But the one that I really enjoyed the best was actually in 2017, and it wasn't an official Dreamforce concert, but it was a concert that took place during the week of Dreamforce because of all the fires in the area. It was a fire relief concert, and that was Dave Matthews. And it wasn't him and the band, it was just Dave Matthews, and it was acoustic, and it was amazing.
That is so cool. I see Stuart was in the front row of the Metallica concert, and Jackie said she saw Train when there were only about 200 people in the room, which was really cool. Man, there's been so many really neat, I think, experiences that people have had. And one of the cool things about music is as soon as you hear one of those songs, you immediately go back to that Dreamforce experience, right? We went to see Foo Fighters, and it was the year that Dave Grohl had broken his foot. And I was like, how can you make a broken foot rock and roll? And he came out on this motorized throne. And I was like, that's how. That's how you do it. Lena also saw Train front row and got one of the guitar picks. This is so cool. I love it. Well, one of the other things that I think is tangential to the experience, and Eric sort of mentioned it in the beginning when he said, hey, guess what? You can't spend all of your time in sessions. You have to make time for networking, and you have to go to events. And there have been a lot of really cool events, these sort of side events or partner events, and a lot of them have really interesting themes. So I wanted to see, what are some of the interesting themes that you've seen or ones that have stuck out to you that you remember in your mind? Toni, I will start with you.
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't do that. I cannot think of a theme. I think for me, the thing is that they are all so outlandish, and it's so hard to choose between like what's the most outlandish. I feel like there was a roller disco. Somebody had done a roller disco. If anybody out there remembers that, please help me if you remember who the sponsor was. But there was a roller disco, and that was like, I don't know how they did that safely, but yeah.
So if anybody's out there, if nobody can remember who did the roller disco, that sounds like a Dreamforce 2021 awesome theme. I love that. I can remember going to the pros event, and they had this whole sort of like race car theme. So you got to get your picture in a race car, and everything was sort of black and white. And that was really cool. Miranda, how about you? Like, I know you have been to some interesting, challenging, fun, unique events.
Uh, I would have to say for me, it would be the certified dinner. Small little vendor. Well, not a small little vendor, but the gathering. It was real intimate. I'm really escaping like what restaurant it was at, but it was this amazing, like literally like 12-course meal. And they the people from Certify came out, and we were a prospective partner at the time. And that was like the first time I ever had a vendor like wine and dine, and the whole 9 yards. So I'm just sitting there with big eyes like, this is amazing. But yeah, it was just fantastic food. Me and my business partner, one of our employees, we were there just soaking it up, having a great time networking with them. And each little meal had like an entire backstory around it. And the presentation was just absolutely fantastic. And that's the one that really, really stands out in my mind.
What I'm hearing is some event marketers around the globe need to be applauded because they spend so much time trying to make these experiences memorable. And Miranda, what you've just described is something that is exactly that. That's so great. I love that. Thanks to Richard, who figured it out for you, Toni. The roller disco was ad roll.
Thank you. Yes, makes sense.
I love it. That's so cute. Janet, I know I met you over a plate of charcuterie at the Dreamforce speakers pre-gathering.
Well, so as I said about finding out about things that are happening, the second time around, I felt, I'm not an expert, but I felt a little bit better about finding out about events. And so this wasn't necessarily a themed event, but because I'm involved in Salesforce Saturday, word of mouth was that Steph Herrera and Computer Futures were running some sort of it was a little like happy hour. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go again. I went by myself. I'm going to go and meet some people. And I thought it was going to be a small gathering. But when I get there, like every leader of Salesforce groups, so like David Liu was there, Salesforce Ben was there, Steph was there, people from Merivis Vets. And so that alone, I got to talk with them in an intimate environment. And then they said, oh, let's go to the other room. We're all going to speak. So we had a whole panel discussion with them. And there wasn't more than, 50 people there. So again, it wasn't necessarily a themed event, but it was hugely impactful on me being able to get to not only meet them and hear their stories and the way they've impacted people, but also in such a small environment. So that was really impactful for me.
That's awesome. And I hear, people describing events that were big and events that were small. And so they all really are amazing. And that's so cool. Roger has a message, and he said the Computer Futures event was awesome. And it was really cool to hear everyone's stories. And I think that's one of the things we love so much is there are so many amazing, powerful, impactful, incredible stories that happen in the Ohana. Eric, tell us about an event.
Well, first off, let me just start by saying, yes, the Computer Futures event was cool. I was there too. I was one of those 50 or 60 people, but I didn't get to stay long enough to listen to all the stories because that was one of my typical Dreamforce times when I was double, triple, or quadruple booked and made my appearance, said hello to a few people, had a drink, and then had to buzz off to another event. So for me, the themed event, I'm going to do the shameless self-promotion plugging thing here, as you can probably all tell by the background that I have up right now as well. But to do so, I'm going to tell you the backstory behind how the bacon breakfast got started. And that goes back to Dreamforce 2011. Again, my first year at Dreamforce. I was new. I didn't know anybody who was going to be there except for some coworkers of mine. And I heard about this event called the Newbie Breakfast through whatever the Dreamforce app was called back then. I don't remember. It was probably just the community or some little offshoot of whatever that is. And I thought, well, you know what? I don't know anybody here. It's my first time here. I'm going to go to this thing. It was in the basement of Sears Fine Food up in the Union Square area. And there were about 20 of us who showed up. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, the first day of Dreamforce. And there were, like I said, 15 or 20 of us there. And we spent an hour and a half just kind of talking to each other, enjoying breakfast and getting to know each other. And the thing that really stuck with me from that event, well, other than the event itself, was I was amazed how often I saw those 15 people throughout the entire week with 30,000 people at the event that year. Yeah, I know 30,000 small compared to today's standards of a Dreamforce, but I ran into those people over and over and over again during the entire week. And one of those individuals in particular, I was walking to one of the late night parties. I was standing at the corner of 4th and Howard and spotted her at the same intersection waiting on the light to change to cross with traffic. And I just walked up right next to her and I said, "Hey, Taylor, fancy meeting you here." And she just kind of turned around. She was like, "I didn't know anybody else was going to be here going to this thing." So, that was the chance that started with that event. But then, the next year rolled around, Dreamforce 2012 rolled around, and I reached out to the person who organized the event, and said, "Hey, are you going to do this breakfast again?" And she said, "I don't work in the Salesforce ecosystem anymore." I mean, this was an email exchange. She kind of whispered it back to me in an email, and she said, "So if you want to do the breakfast, it's on you." And I thought, okay, challenge accepted. So I organized this breakfast. I talked to the people at Sears Fine Food and said, "Hey, can I use your basement? I'm going to have a breakfast here. The morning Dreamforce starts. I'll probably have, I don't know, 50 people maybe." And they said, "Sure, we can do that as long as you can just do one check." Like, okay, I can handle that. I said, "I'll figure out a way to do that." So I sold tickets to this event. Said, "I'll just pay the bill." I said, if it costs me more than what I sold the tickets for, oh well. If there's any money left, I'll make a donation somewhere. And I had, I don't know, 25, 30, 35 people show up, maybe a little more. I don't honestly remember. That was so long ago now. But that started this whole tradition of what everybody now calls the bacon breakfast. I threw the word reunion in the title of the event for 2012 because I didn't want it to just be new people. I wanted some that have already attended Dreamforce to come, so the rookies would have somebody who'd been there before to talk to about the event. And from there, it's blossomed. That event's seen over 200 people. It's become a fundraiser for my favorite nonprofit, Project Night Night, every year. I did a newbie breakfast at Trailhead DX the year I attended there too. And between all of those events, I've brought in over $34,000 for Project Night Night since then.
Absolutely incredible, Eric. Absolutely incredible. You see how these things spring out of moments, right? This is amazing.
So when in doubt, add bacon.
This is sizzling. Amazing, Eric. That's such a great thing. We have a couple more questions to ask, but I will remind you, Andrew is giving away some swag bags if you use the hashtag DFGhosts. If you've got old Dreamforce tickets that you want to show, if you've got a cloudy like Tony's got, if you have a real love for bacon like Eric, put that out there. We've got a question for every single one of you. What was it like prepping to speak at Dreamforce? Besides panic-inducing, sweat-inducing, overwhelming, what was it like when you prepped to speak at your first Dreamforce? Miranda, I will start with you.
Well, honestly, it was pretty interesting. I did 3 events the first time I spoke at Dreamforce, so I just dove right in. You know, I had spoken at conferences before, and you know, I did a quick talk at TDX earlier in the year. But this time I wasn't doing technical content. You know, and that's kind of my bread and butter. You know, like you know, I've got this love affair with code that I've had ever since I was a kid, and I can figure out that, you know, I figured out I can boss a computer around, and and I was a middle child, so I was struggling with control, you know, as one does. Uh, but for the first time, I was actually presented with not doing a technical talk. Um, and so Scott and I were going to be giving a session on the new LGBTQIA plus group that we had started up. And then I was going to be hosting a Transforce community event. But I had actually the community team reached out to me and told me, you know, like, hey, we want to, you know, talk to you for a few minutes at the developer keynote. And I'm sitting here like, wait, what? My very first time speaking at Dreamforce is going to be in the developer keynote? What? And see, here's the thing. I knew that they were going to ask me a couple of questions here and there, but in the back of my head, I'm going, shit, they're going to give me a golden hoodie, aren't they? And I'm like sitting there, like we're going through all of this prep, and I've got that in the back of my mind. And see, the thing is no one told me that that was going to happen. It was just kind of like, is it? You know, and so I'm doing this prep, but I've got this question in the back of my head, like, what if this happens? You know, like I need to hold my composure together. And sure enough, it did. But when it came down to it, I actually realized that the day that I was going to be going on stage was actually going to be the Transgender Day of Remembrance 2019. And so everything that I had prepped and that I had wanted to say, the second that I actually looked at the date, and I was like, no, I got to somehow work this into it. And thankfully I did. So it was a lot of back and forth, uncertainty, and I got up on the stage. I, you know, talked to Sarah, and like the entire thing was a blur, truth be told. So it was a lot of back and forth, you know, trying to get over those nerves, because like, you know, I mean, that's the show to be part of the keynote. Yeah. Overall, just absolutely wonderful experience. And I wouldn't change a single thing about how I did the prep.
That's amazing. Such a good story, Miranda. And I can tell you, it is such a powerful moment to think about all of the emotions you must have had. I can't even, I don't even think there's enough words. Not even Eric has enough adjectives to describe all the emotions you must have had getting ready for that. Oh.
Honestly, I just wanted to do something for my community and to put something out there. You know, like the moment that I realized I had an opportunity to reach a broad base, everything went out the window. You know, everything about like in that moment, it stopped being about me.
That is such an incredible way to say, let me use my platform for good. Let me use my platform for something that is so much further beyond me. And that is something that I think all of us love about you, Miranda, is that you are willing to do that sort of thing. And, you know, that is one of the things that I think is incredible about the entire Ohana. I mean, when you walk around Dreamforce, there are signs that say sustainable development goals. Here's how what you're doing contributes to one of those. And it helps us all think a little bit further beyond ourselves. And anytime you have the opportunity to use your platform, that is such a tremendous thing to do.
Oh, definitely. I don't get where I've gotten without this community. I would not have become the person that, the shy locked in a closet type developer person that went to the first Dreamforce, eyes open and everything. I don't get here without this community.
Secret weapons, secret no more, folks. We all know. Janet, how about you? How did you feel prepping to speak at Dreamforce?
Okay, so my this would have been my second Dreamforce, and it was sort of selfish. We have a decently sized Salesforce group at my company, and not everybody gets to go to Dreamforce. And just because I'd gone the year before, I wasn't guaranteed. So myself and another coworker were trying to come up with ways like, how can we assure that we're going to go? Well, we could get accepted as speakers. And so we came up with a technical topic that we felt really comfortable with. And I said, hey, let's just submit it and see what happens. So, you write your, you don't have to have your presentation put together. You just have to have an idea. And so we put in our, our summary and threw it in. And then, I don't know, it's a month or two later and we got accepted. And I just had a feeling like, what did I just get myself into? This is nuts. Because we were going to be speaking to 200 people in one of those big rooms. And again, I had just started to become involved in the community. But it was a topic that I felt like I could really cover well. I felt really comfortable with the topic, the technical topic. So then it was a massive amount of work to perfect it and rewrite it and do dry runs. The Salesforce gives you a person to walk you through it and help you refine it. And then on the day of, so speaking of the Macklemore concert, I'd gone to the Macklemore concert the night before. That wasn't planned. I got home not super late. I don't know, it might have been midnight. And then, I had to do this session at like 10 a.m. So I was a little, just running over to Moscone and they put the microphone on you and all these people were coming in and you're like, go. But it went well. And it was a huge turning point for me in knowing that, I could speak, people would listen, they would take me seriously and kind of getting over that hump. I mean, if you're going to speak for the first time, I guess go speak at Dreamforce and then everything else seems really, really simple after that. So it was a big confidence booster and just a really great experience.
That's so great, Janet. And I think one of the things that hopefully many people in the audience don't see is that sort of panicked rush that there is turning over one session to the next, right?
Oh,
they're miking you up, they're trying to get you up there and you're like, oh, the slides, oh, my brain. And you're really, it's like, it's like being at a very popular restaurant on Valentine's Day, right?
For sure.
Yeah, that's a challenge. That is a tough part. And I think, I would also encourage everybody, put together a presentation, put together a proposal, because once you do that, you start to learn what it is you know very well. And if you can succinctly sell somebody on that topic, that's such a good piece of advice, Janet. Toni and Eric, I think you guys might have some interesting stories as well. Toni, I'm going to start with you. What was it like prepping to speak at Dreamforce?
So I have done a few different formats at Dreamforce. As I mentioned, the campfire format. Eric and I actually partnered on a campfire presentation, which is, very informal, people sitting around a campfire. And that is less scripted. You don't get an assigned person. They just want to make sure that you know what you're talking about and you're not, just going to burst into flames, right? Then I've had a panel. So my business analyst panel that I had, which was me hosting a roundup of business analysts, that was in a ballroom. And that was also a little bit less formalized, but the pressure was on because I had a ballroom. And when I found out that, it's going to be in a ballroom, I was like, oh my God, a ballroom, this is so crazy. And that was the first one that I had that was filmed. So it was super exciting. My most recent one was a technical presentation that I did around next best action with a coworker. And that one was very tedious. So it's a lot of the dry runs and your content and, getting the tech piece. But what I can say, the highlight of that is that you get access to a Salesforce deck and you get Salesforce Sans font. I love that font. So they give it to you so that you can use it in your deck. And so that was like the highlight of the technical pieces. So
All hail Salesforce Sans. I also am a font nerd. Tony and I have had conversations before about being font nerds, and that one really is so pleasing. So just do it for the font, y'all. Eric, how about you?
All right. So I've got a couple things I want to share here with this one. My first time speaking at Dreamforce was 2013, so my third year at the event. I think I did actually 2 different sessions that year, which was kind of crazy just to think about it. Prior to joining the Salesforce ecosystem, I probably would have considered myself an introvert, and I'd always be the guy hiding back in the corner in a room somewhere avoiding people. Yeah, I know that's hard to believe, right? Look at me now. But the first year, my first presentation at Dreamforce, I was on a panel of a few people. I think there were 3 of us. One of them is in the audience with us here, Jackie Trevieso. She and I presented with Sarah Deutsch, now Sarah Thornton. And I think there was a 4th person on that panel whose name escapes me at the moment. But it was all about how user group leaders can effectively lead user groups. And we spent a few times over Zoom or whatever the technology was back then, prepping the call and things like that and getting ready for this thing. And then when it came time to present this thing for real, we're all up on the stage watching the crowd come in the room. And we had a pretty good sized crowd, probably 50 to 75 people. And for me, the introvert, that seemed like thousands of people. I was up there sweating bullets. My stomach was turning over left and right and forwards and backwards. And I was horrified. I was terrified that I was going to screw something up or whatever. And then we started presenting, and then it suddenly hit me. Everybody came there to hear what I wanted to say. And all of a sudden I was calm and it was easy. And it was just like I'm talking to you today, right now. There was like that weight just got lifted off my shoulder as soon as I realized they came to hear what I wanted to say. So from the perspective of those of you who haven't yet spoken at Dreamforce, like Janet said, find a topic you know you're passionate about that you're really good at, and don't worry about it. People are going to come because they're going to want to hear what you have to say. If I go a little further out into the Dreamforce career, Dreamforce 2017, I have to go look at my cheat sheet. Sorry, Dreamforce 2016 was a little bit of a unique Dreamforce for me. And this part of the Dreamforce actually started because my family wanted to see me without a beard. I've been married 15 years by then. I had to my wife, and we've had some kids, and they'd never seen me without the facial hair. And truth be told, I've never gotten rid of it since I was like 13 and started growing it. And the pressure from my family got to me, and I thought, okay, you know what? If I'm going to shave it off for my family, I'm going to make a fundraiser out of this thing and see if I can raise some money for Project Night, and I'll go to Dreamforce with no facial hair. So Dreamforce 2017 rolls around. I put a challenge out there to the community. If I can raise $2,500, I will shave my beard off and I'll go to Dreamforce with no facial hair. Well, that year I raised about $3,500 for Project Night. So I did Dreamforce without the facial hair. Of course, I had a session that year to speak at as well. And a friend of mine who I hadn't seen since the previous Dreamforce said, I'm going to be at your session so we can have a chance to talk afterwards, because that'll be the only chance we get to talk the whole week. So we're at the session. It's me, David Liu, and Kyla Longi standing up at the front of the room waiting for the session to start. And the session's all about personal branding and growing your career through the Salesforce ecosystem. And this friend of mine's there, and she's in the front row, and she's looking at the crowd or the speakers, and she's going, well, that's David and that's Kyla, but who's that? She didn't recognize me. And as soon as I started speaking, her jaw hit the floor, just kind of like yours did now, Shannon. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's Eric. But it's not the Eric I know, but it's Eric. And that alone was worth the hassle, if you will, of having to shave just to see her reaction. But you know, it was a blast. I had a lot of fun that week. By the time the week was over, I had started growing the little bit of the goatee and left that for a while. And my wife said after a week or so of that, it's all or nothing, Eric. Grow the whole beard back or shave it all off, but don't do the goatee. So So there's my Dreamforce
This is
speaking
amazing.
scenario.
That is so not where I expected you to go, Eric, but I love it anyway. I think Janet brought up the idea of the decks and doing the decks over and over and over again. And, when you get that deck and it's got like 100 different sides and it's like, you can use Astro looking to the left, but not Astro looking to the right. And you're like, I thought I was detail oriented before.
Yeah, I think we may have spent more time deciding which slide to use than on the actual content.
I think that's exactly right. I think there's a lot of that sort of prep in
Yeah,
there.
probably true. So over the years, I've spoken at Dreamforce, I think in 7 years now, and probably had 13 or 14 sessions totaled. So I have a lot of experience with Dreamforce sessions now. Fortunately, I guess I enjoy speaking, obviously, but it's, if you have the opportunity and feel like it's time for you to throw yourself out there and try something new, I would strongly suggest you submit a session for Dreamforce or one of the community-led events when they're out there and doing in-person events again.
Absolutely. And I see everybody, literally everybody's nodding. Definitely apply to a community event. There's loads of them. There are so many different Trailblazer groups. And now that, we're in the middle of this virtual life, you can go to anyone. You can Zoom into anybody's meeting, which is awesome. So you should attend other ones. And also, if you've got an expertise and it's a really specific niche, people want to hear about it. I saw a call on Twitter earlier today where people were looking for somebody who could talk about Tableau CRM. So whatever your interest is, somebody wants to hear you talk about it, definitely. And Eric's got a whole Bible of words that you can use if you run out of good, great, happy. he's here for adjectives. You just let him know.
All those words I collected while hiding in the corner of those rooms.
It's hard to believe anybody here was an introvert, but I will tell you, I think a lot of people can identify with that, where a lot of people were like, I really kept to myself, but once I found this and I figured out this was something that really jazzed me up, I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours, which is awesome. We have our last question, which I think is the most burning question, the one the most blogs are written about every year, the one that people think about all of the time before they go to Dreamforce when they're packing. This is the number one most searched question ever of all time about Dreamforce, and that is, what are the best and worst shoes to wear during Dreamforce week? Janet, I'm going to start with you because I think you've got some strong opinions on shoes.
Well, what's funny is I was looking back at pictures last year, and I didn't take the advice I'm going to give. I didn't take. I'm a big Birkenstock flip-flops person. I live in California. I don't wear dressy shoes, and I'm not normally one to wear like tennis shoes. So last year, I actually wore Birkenstocks one day, and I survived. It was comfortable. But so my son runs cross country, and I'm now a convert to these shoes. They're called Hokas, and they are literally the most amazing shoes on the planet. They're so comfortable. So next year, I will wear these in honor this year. I got a walking treadmill for my desk that I'm going to try out here soon, so I will wear these in honor. But this next year, I'm gonna rock these.
Are you going to try that out right now? Like, are you going to get on your walking treadmill right now, Janet?
But I don't have it set up yet. I just got it. But that would have been good.
After this, we've had a lot of requests for videos, for some of the things that we're sharing here today. So I'll make sure that everybody who attended gets a list of some of those things. And I'm going to try to get a picture of Janet on her treadmill and her Hokas. Miranda, shoes.
Oh gosh. Well, okay. So first Dreamforce, made a classic mistake. I didn't know what to expect. I heard about the Dreamfest, but back then they were calling it the gala, and like I'm thinking, okay, I need a fancy dress, I need all the, like the beautiful heels, the whole 9 yards, So I've got all of that in my suitcase. I've got this nice professional outfit complete with the heels. And I made it about 2 hours when I started thinking, this isn't me. Now, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. So I got my blue jeans, like I've kind of got this like Doctor Who inspired outfit. 10th Doctor was my doctor. And the only pair of comfortable shoes that I had with me were my red Chucks. And I made it about 2 hours walking around San Francisco in heels before I went right back to my hotel room, grabbed my Chucks, and wore those for the rest of the conference. And I've pretty much been wearing Chucks ever since, to the point where like former coworkers were just like looking at me and being like, gosh, I wish I could, I wish I had your confidence to pull off tennis shoes. And just do it. Just do it. The most important thing is for you to be comfortable here, because when you're comfortable, it allows you to connect with people. Like if your dogs are barking and that's all that you're thinking about, you're not paying attention to that conversation that you're having. You're not actually, engaged. You're sitting there thinking like, God, I can't wait to get back to my hotel room, take these damn shoes off. Don't do it. Just be comfortable.
It's so true, Miranda. And I think you can, and I wasn't joking, there are a lot of blogs written about the best shoes to wear to Dreamforce, right? Because everybody makes this mistake. You're like, oh, it's a work conference. I'm going to dress up like I'm going to work. And then you can tell who are the people that have been there before, because they're wearing their Chucks, their Vans, they're wearing their most comfortable shoes, maybe even with their presenter's outfit on. It's fine. And people who are kind of hobbling around, and you're like, you're not going to make it from 8 a.m. until, well, Janet, she said she stays out till midnight. I can't make it that long. But it's such an important thing. And I think, Miranda, another thing that I've seen a lot of blogs about is what to wear when you're presenting, because what do you do with that extra sort of pack for your microphone, right? And if you're wearing a dress and it doesn't have pockets, that's awkward. That's awkward. Toni,
why would you be wearing a dress without pockets?
That is a better question. That is a better question. Anybody who knows dress designers, tell them, just don't make dresses without pockets. We don't want them. Toni, how about you? I know you've got some shoe opinions.
So Janet inspired me to actually go get the shoe itself. And I was like, oh, it's right here. So I got a prop. So I actually am a person who does not do sneakers, and I do not do Vans. I don't do Chucks. I'm a little bit more fancy than that. However, I also do need to be comfortable. So there is a brand, it's called Fit Flop, and they have a number of comfort shoes that they try to kind of dress up. I'm also like, my go-to shoe is a gladiator sandal. So you can dress them up or down, and they still look very polished. And then I'm also a person who will take my good shoes for when I'm speaking and swap them out in my book bag and have those when I hit the stage, especially if it's going to be filmed, just because I like that, that extra oomph of the height and the elegance. So if you're more of a fashion person and you don't do the sneakers and the Vans, then those are kind of my tips.
That's lovely. I love it, Toni. Always have a little plan B ready to go. Melissa Hill D says eshakti.com, which is a great thing. I've seen that in a lot of blogs too. And she is saying also dresses with pockets. Eric, what do you think about dresses with pockets?
Well, if I was going to wear dresses, it would have to have pockets. That's for sure.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Shoes, though.
I would agree with that. Shoes.
Time for you to bring your shoes.
Yeah. So shoes, the most comfortable pair of shoes I ever wore to Dreamforce, I bought at Walmart for $5 on clearance. It was amazing. I don't have them with me. They didn't last 7 years since I've had them that long. But they were very similar to, Crocs. There, I almost lost the name. They were really comfortable, really lightweight, and just wore really well. But I did bring a prop for shoes, because I do have a pair of shoes that I only wear at Dreamforce. And I don't usually wear it all the time because, unlike Miranda, I don't necessarily think Converse are that comfortable, but these are special limited edition MVP Converse shoes. So I really can only wear them at Dreamforce. They're a great conversation starter. It's like, hey, where'd you get those cool shoes? Well, again, Salesforce actually gave them to the MVPs one year, which was kind of cool, kind of neat. They asked us our shoe size, and everybody's like, why did they need to know our shoe size? But yeah, shoes, I go comfort over everything, as if we don't do enough walking during the conference at Dreamforce. Ever since 2014, I've also organized a group of people to go walk the Golden Gate Bridge. And for those of you that don't know anything about the Golden Gate Bridge, it's not a short walk. It's almost 2 miles across the bridge. And if you walk it both directions, that's 4 miles. And if you're, since I'm talking about myself, I can use the word stupid. If you're stupid enough to be like me and you walk across the bridge and you turn around and you walk back and you're having such a great time with some friends that you walk all the way back to Union Square and suddenly you realize you just walked 11 miles in one day, let alone all the stuff you did at Dreamforce. Comfortable shoes is pretty damn important. And I think most of the time I'm wearing like Adidas cross trainers or running shoes because of all the comfort and the padding they have. But yeah, it's pretty important.
It definitely is important. I think shoes are one of the things, even if it's your most comfortable pair of shoes, you cannot wear one same pair of shoes all week long. Your feet are like, we don't want to do that. We definitely do not want to do that.
Yep.
We definitely do not want to do that. You know, I think this has been such an interesting and amazing and phenomenal walk back into Dreamforce Pass. I'm going to ask each one of you if there's one more thing that I should have asked or one more thing you want to share about Dreamforce, because I know we've all been in our fields. All of these memories have been coming up on Twitter and on Facebook and on Snapchat. And every time you see one, you're like, oh, I miss my friends and I miss that energy and I miss everything about it. So before we tell you who won the 4 swag bags that Andrew's giving away, I'm going to run around really quickly and ask if you've got one other thing to share. Eric, I'll start with you.
Well, I would reiterate the importance of connections and meeting people and having one-on-one genuine conversations. And just because I am such the introvert and can't stand talking to a crowd, I'll throw one more little story out there on that. And it was Dreamforce 2013, I believe. I was at a pizza place up in the North Beach area called Toni's Pizza with about 15 or 20 of us late at night. It was like right after Dreamforce ended. It was the evening of the last day. And we closed the place down, so 1 o'clock in the morning roughly. And a friend of mine grabbed his headphones and said, I'm going to go for a walk. And I grabbed my earbuds and said, I'm going with you. And we walked from North Beach down the Embarcadero through the financial district, back over to the Union Square where our hotel was. And it was 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. And the streets of San Francisco were empty. Nobody was there. We saw maybe 10 people. They were out running. They were out walking their dog. We saw a couple of homeless people, had some great conversations with these very few people we saw. It was a totally different experience in the same city that just had 45,000 people in it for Dreamforce. And it was amazing. And I had a great one-on-one conversation with this friend of mine that I did that walk with. So the value of people and friends and all that is huge, at least for me.
That's beautiful, Eric. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that is something that I just keep hearing run along here. And I see so many people. I see Dan and Kathy, who I've met in lines at Dreamforce. I see Jason, who I've definitely met at events. I mean, that's one of the coolest things about this community is everybody wants to help and everybody's so kind. So please listen to what Eric said, and that is make good connections. Janet, how about you? What's the one thing you want to leave everybody with?
So I was thinking about how Agenda Builder opened up for Dreamforce 2020. And it made me think, and I'm looking through it, and it just reminded me of the feeling of the excitement when Agenda Builder goes live for the normal event, because I didn't understand it the first year, but I understood it the second year, is things have limited space. So your sessions have limited space, but also all of the cool people that you can go hear, play, or talk the smaller sessions. So, Agenda Builder goes live and everybody goes crazy. But the tip for next year is they add things on as they go. So I was at a soccer match. This was about a week after Agenda Builder went live last year. And I was at one of my kids' soccer matches. I was just looking at my phone before the game started. And they had just that morning at like 9 a.m., they announced David Beckham and they announced Eddie Vedder. And I was like, boom, I am going to I was so excited because I was right on it. So, you have to pay attention to Agenda Builder and know that they add on to it. But sort of that excitement of it reminded me.
That cannot be understated. The first time you go to Dreamforce, you're like, oh, sure, Agenda Builder, yeah, I'll build it out. And then you realize things close and they close and they close and they close. And so you are sitting around like waiting for Agenda Builder to come out so that you can build it. But you're right, Janet, that's one of the things that's the most fun is the surprise. Here comes something new. Here comes Eddie Vedder. Whoa, better get on the wait list for that. Toni, what's something you want to leave everybody with?
I'm going to cheat and do two things. So one, experience San Francisco. So add on a day before or after on that Friday. If I'm going to kind of like the fireside chat, I like to dip out and go to Napa and Sonoma and do my wine tasting and go to the wineries. So definitely if you can do that. But the other thing that I want to say is that Dreamforce and people who have been, it's very cliquish, and people who aren't able to go feel a little left out. And so what you should do is create your own virtual events, connect with people, watch the videos. People really, when you're there, you're so busy and you're in sessions and you're trying to cram all this stuff into your head. And you're like, I'm going to this session, I'm going to that session, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to learn that stuff flies out of your head. And so you'll end up watching the videos when you get home anyway. So look at videos from past Dreamforces and don't feel left out if you can't go. Just connect with people virtually and locally. And you know, it's inclusive. It's actually beyond just going to San Francisco for that week.
Those are great, Toni. I'm glad that you took two, because I think those are two really, really important tips. And I think that is so powerful. We probably should write up all of these suggestions for when we can finally go back to Dreamforce next year. Miranda, how about you?
Don't be afraid to take some time for yourself. You know, when you're there, it can be overwhelming, and whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, or you know, maybe you're having a great day or maybe you're having a bad day, or one way or another, don't be afraid to take that time for yourself. You know, getting into sessions, it's great. It's an overwhelming event though. It's hard to remember everything. You know, you're gonna interact with people. You know, maybe you see someone standing off on the corner keeping to themselves, and you know, it's okay to reach out to them and to have that inclusion. But ultimately at the end of the day, you need to take care of yourself. And then it's okay to skip out on Dreamfest, or skip out on that one session and just take some time, go back to your hotel room, take a nap, take a bath, watch some Netflix, do whatever you need to do. Just take care of yourself, because as an amazing of an event it can be overwhelming, and self-care is so incredibly important.
I second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, however many times I can raise that, Miranda. I will tell you, when Janet said she stays out not till late, until midnight, I was like, whoa. Now I bring my East Coast time zone with me when I go. So midnight for me is 3 a.m. There is no way I'm making it that late.
Not that late every single night. You're making
we just had Jennifer say in the chat, she's in the UK and she stayed up for this. And I think all of the time when you meet people who are global at this event, and I think, I don't know how they're doing it, because I feel wrecked coming from the East Coast. That's only 3 hours. And so Miranda, you're absolutely right. I think take time for yourself, and I would add in there, hydrate, because it is so easy to forget to drink water while you're there. There is not enough water. That's it, Janet. Exactly. Hydrate if you can all day long. Yeah, there's just not enough water.
Bonus tip, make sure that the water bottle that they give you is dishwasher safe before you try and wash it, because there was a bottle a couple of years ago. A lot of people were posting pictures of how much it actually dramatically shrunk after they washed it in their dishwasher.
That is absolutely tremendous. So if you are somebody who's going to be giving things away at events, check that before you order them. Make sure they're dishwasher safe. That is helpful. This has been so tremendous. You four, I cannot thank you enough. And thanks to everybody who joined. There were some really cool comments coming in. Thanks for everybody for sharing during it. It was so nice to catch up and hear some of your memories, because I know I have been missing this week. I mean, I think we all say, like, this is like our holiday week, right? This is like for our back to school week, or our Christmas week, or, whatever it is that you look forward to all year long. This is that for so many people, whether you're there in person or you're catching some of it live streamed. And some of that magic, I think, was just recreated by you four. And I cannot thank you enough for spending your time to share those stories with us. It was open, it was raw. It was fun. It was funny. I could do this for many, many more hours. So I just want to thank you all. Andrew, I'm going to turn it over to you to wrap us up.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I mean, absolutely incredible. We have some of the best Salesforce minds in the house tonight, and it's just such a treat to have you all under one place. I don't think this will ever happen in a normal instance. So, we're just very excited to have everyone here tonight. And, Shannon, thank you so much for mediating everything. For those of you who don't know, Shannon is getting her PhD in Salesforce engagement and adoption. So, I mean, like some really, really great stuff coming out of this today. So thank you all so much for joining. And we had some great participation and so many people. So it doesn't look like we have too many questions. So we're going to move, right along into the contest. We did have a lot of tweets. So I'll go ahead, and I have 4 that we randomly selected. We do actually have like a little random selector, and I'll go ahead and move on to those. So first up, it looks like we have Trailblazer Rich. So Trailblazer Rich, if you can send a chat to Shannon and send your email so we can get your contact information. Tessa Clark, congratulations. Medi, if you can go ahead and put a chat in as well. And then last but not least, we have Dan Martin. So congratulations, guys. Thank you so much. Go ahead and put a chat in to Shannon, and we will make sure that you get your Salesforce swag. Super exciting, guys. So we do have more coming this week. Dreamforce, as we all know, is in one day. It's not 2 days. It's an entire week of festivities. So we have more coming this Thursday. We have a TikTok dance party hosted by a Grizz Girl, which is the Grizzly NBA team. For those of you who don't know, Shannon and me are very excited. Her daughter has been trying to teach us TikTok dances, but we're not very fast learners. So we're trying to build up our skills. This is a great way to do it. It'll be a really fun event. And then we also have David Wax Museum playing a small live show for us this Sunday. It's going to be incredible. We're really, really lucky to have them. So please join. It's family friendly. They're going to be incredible. They're actually, pretty big artists for us to be able to bring them to your living room. So we're just really, really excited for that. But thank you guys so much for making this really special. And I think I speak for everyone here when I say that Dreamforce feels a little bit better when you have your Ohana with you, even though you may not be there. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing everyone next year. And I know that Shannon, Miranda, Janet, Eric, and Toni are all very much looking forward to seeing you next year as well. So thank you from Cloud Adoption Solutions, which, as you all know, is a 100% women-owned Salesforce partner. Hit us up if you have any Salesforce needs or questions. But other than that, we can sign off. And thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.